Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth episode of my Hack the Box walkthrough series. This time I'm going after the nest machine. As you can see, I already have my starting script running, which is just creating a directory, a notes file, and running NMap script into that notes file for me to keep track of what's going on. I really liked this machine as it let me kind of try some skills that I hadn't really had a chance to apply yet. I think it might have been a little on the medium side of it, if I'm being honest. I think that some of his stuff didn't quite necessarily translate to easy, but that could just be the fact that I'm not a master and this is something relatively new to me in what I was doing here. So now that we have the NMap script in my notes file open, why don't we start taking a look at what we have. What we've got is one port open, 445. So to me that says maybe we've got a share open. Why don't we go take a look. So I'm going to use smbclient against the nest machine, and I'm going to use the al flag to list what's there. No password, and as you can see, we have a couple directories that we can take a look at. Why don't we start with users? Similar process. Get rid of the al flag though, because we're not trying to list. We're going to put users at the end. And it looks like we've got some stuff here. So immediately right off the bat, we have a few usernames, and that's about it. These are also directories, but I guarantee we don't have access to the admin directory right off the bat. But what I am going to do is I am just going to add this to my notes file so that if I have to reference it, I can get C. Smith, L. Frost, R. Thompson, temp user. I can get all that information relatively easily. So why don't we turn recurse on and see what we can see. It doesn't look like there's anything that we really need or anything that we can really even get access to, so let's exit out of that. We have a couple other shares to choose from. Let's try data this time. Alright, we have a few folders. Let's turn recurse on again. And this time you can see that we actually have some stuff to work with. So I'm going to do mget, actually I'm going to exit out first. I'm going to make a directory called hall1. Because I just want to store all this neatly. I don't want it running into that notes folder and I don't want that getting clogged. So we're going to code back now. Curse on, mget. And then I'm just going to run through all of this and see what I can get out of it. It's not going to let me pull things that I don't have permissions, obviously. But when you look at it, well, we should have a few things here. Look at that, a welcome email for us. Alright, we would like to extend you a warm welcome to our newest team member, staff, first name, surname, so on and so forth. Here we are. A username and password. So now what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 usernames and a password. So what we'd like to do is maybe make a username and password list with this and see what we can do for SMB share. But first, since we know that this is a temp user and their password, why don't we just go through and see what we can get with that. I'm going to go back and do users this time, but with the -u temp user. Welcome 2019. Now let's turn recurse on and see what we get. See, this time we have a new text document that we can look at. So let's go to temp user. Grab that. Nothing interesting really there. So, what can we keep doing? At this point, we've tried a few things. Let's go back and go see if we can get anything out of data. forgot to enter the temp user. Recurse on. Now if you look at it, it seems like we've got quite a bit more on the data side of it. A couple XML files, some tools to enumerate. Let's go back and set up a new directory. This time we'll just call it data hall. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to mget everything that I can. Then we're just going to do some more enumeration. See what we can find. Some of this is stuff that we've obviously already got, but let's see. I guess we'll start with simple. Make it easy, grep ir. So that's ignoring case and recursively searching. We're going to go password and see if we find anything. And look at that. In RU scanner config XML, we find what appears to be a password. So let's go take a look at that folder in particular. And you can see it's the C. Smith username. It's also port 389 for LDAP, looks like. I'm just going to grab that, put that over here, and I'm going to do what I did when I first tried this, which was I went straight to a base64 decoder to see if that popped anything. And it did. It's just kind of gibberish. So that's something that I think at this point I would say to myself, I'm going to keep it on the back burner. Maybe I can use it somewhere else. It's not anything that we can really apply at the moment. So let's go back and keep doing some enumeration. All right, we've got a bunch of config files. Let's see. Adobe. And if you look, nothing really interesting there. Let's go to Notepad++. Now, if we look at this configs file, it might not look like something interesting right off the bat, but when you get to the bottom, these kind of jump out at me. In particular, this one, secure itcarl temp.txt. So why don't we go and see if we can get access to secure itcarl. 178 secure, I believe it was secure $. -u, we'll do temp user again and see if that gets us anywhere. Look at that, we've got some stuff. Alright, I'm going to exit. Created this. Now, you don't have to be creating all these directories like I am. It's just something that I do for housekeeping. I like to keep track of where I am based off the directories, and sometimes I don't do it in the way that even I think I should, so don't take my advice. Do whatever works for you. Let's do recurse on ls. Doesn't look like there was really anything that we can get here. But that's the problem, is that's going back and searching for finance, HR, and IT. That's not searching for what we found in Carl, because I didn't go back to Carl yet. Now you can see that we've got quite a bit. So let's go and do our favorite, mget. Gotta get it all. make like a pirate and take all this booty. Let's go. Now I will say, I'm saving you some time. I know which way to go, but I'm trying my best to kind of explain to you the methods that I was using to get there so that you don't waste a lot of time doing unnecessary things. You're not really concerned about doing all that right now. You're more concerned about getting everything that you need and understanding why it's working. So let's cd to docs. See if any of these work for anything we need. Doesn't look like it's anything important. Nothing in reports. So that means the VB projects is probably going to be where we find whatever we want. Is it production? Nope. So we're looking at a work in progress. It's tying back to the RU. So remember, in the other RU file, we found this hash, something that we might be able to decrypt. So let's go to RU scanner and see what we've got here. Now it looks like we've got some Visual Basic files, something that we might be able to look at and see maybe we can use to apply that hash in a way that might give us back something useful. Let's just do some looking at what we've got here. Module 1. Alright. So password equals utils.decrypt string config password. Alright, that's something useful. If it says that we're looking for a username from config.username and a password from utils.decrypt string.config password. So why don't we go and look at utils.db. Alright, it's not small but not large in terms of the amount of code that we got here. If you're looking in particular, what you want to see is that this looks like it's a function to encrypt and decrypt. So what you can do here is take all of this and pass it into whatever your development environment of choice is. So I'm going to go to a website called .NetFiddle. Copy all this in here. You'll see we have a few errors right off the bat. After some digging, I found that it was pulling stuff from the system module that wasn't labeled here, so once you do an import system, it should return. And now it doesn't look like there are any issues here. Let's take a look and see if we can find something that will help us take what we have and create something new. Shared function decrypt doesn't look too bad. Encrypt, alright. Public share function decrypt string. Alright, so that tells me that it's going to return us whatever the decrypted string is. Now it's just a matter of finding the right way to apply it. This is where I first started to have some problems with this, because this is a type of coding that I haven't done before, so I was kind of doing a lot of Googling to make sure that I could get it working. And in the end, I ended up with this. I added my own public module at the top. I created a main inside of that. And I just did a simple command to write a line calling the decrypt string method with this password. So when I run it now, that's the wrong password because that's from something else. Let's go back and grab this guy. Spoilers. And here we have a password for c.smith now. Pancakes. Not a bad way to get it. So why don't we go and try logging into that? Or at least logging in with c.smith. I'm going to make another directory now, csmithhall. We're going to go back and try users again, because that's where we've had some luck before. Password. Now again, you don't have to recurse on, but I like to recurse on so I can see what I've got access to, and you can see we have this tool now, HQK reporting. So let's go to csmith. And we're going to do the same thing we get every time. And look at that. In the process, we got user.text. So let's exit here. And you see we've got the user flag now. So what's next? What do we do at this point? Now we take a look at HQK reporting and see what we can find there. We have an AD integration module, we have a debug mode password, and we have HQK backup. So let's cat the HQK backup first. So it looks like on port 4386, there is some level of program running that we may want to pay attention to. I'm going to grab this and toss it over there. Get whatever you think is necessary. I get more than I think I need sometimes. So if you look, debug mode password appears to be empty. So in my experience, they wouldn't give you a file with nothing in it. We're going to come back to that in a second. First, we're going to go to, we have this. All right. What happens if I string set, see if there's anything important here. Strings is a tool that lets you kind of look deep inside the exe file and see if there's anything useful to us. Doesn't look like in this case, maybe the public token is something that we want to pay attention to, but in reality right now, this doesn't do much for us. I'm going to go back to where we pulled that file from. So smbclient 10.10.10.178 users csmith. Make sure I have the password as copied. Now there's a tool here that you can use called all info. And I'm going to use that right now. So I'm going to all info that file that's allegedly empty. The only thing I don't like about this is how it doesn't play nice without error. And you can see that there's a data path in here for password. It's not just a text file. There's something in there that we can use. So why don't I do this? Why don't I do more being a tool that we can use to read debug mode password dot text colon password. And look at this. Now we've got some kind of password for us to use, which is great. You can see that now we've got a username and, or no username, we've got a service and a password. And we know it's on port 4386. So let's go check that out now. Let's do telnet. All right, we're in the reporting service, it looks like. Help. All right, we have a list. All right, that doesn't do much for us. The set dir may be interesting. Why don't we enter debug, because that requires a password, and try this. Debug mode enabled. Now, it takes a minute to get used to these commands, but what you see here is that we have the ability to maybe set dir to see what happens there. Now we're in system 32. Now if we list, all right, looks like we've got some interesting abilities to traverse. Now, why don't we just go see if we can go straight to users? Can't be this easy, right? And it's not. So let's go and take a look at the programs. program files. Let's go into the HQK. Constantly forgetting what kind of environment we're in. All right. So we've got queries that we can run, it looks like. Using query ID at the top, we can perform a run query command to see what we've got. Why don't we go take a look at the folders? Let's go take a look at LDAP, we'll say. So we have an ldap.conf and an hqk ldap.exe, which is also the file that we have earlier. So why don't we try run query 2 and wonder why that didn't work. Invalid database configuration found. Show query 2, and there we go. Now this is interesting. We have another hash. Gonna bring that down here, and it's for the administrator. So now we're one step closer to root. I'm gonna take this. And the first thing I did was immediately plug it right back in here. Doesn't work, breaks the code. So to me that says we maybe need to look closely at that hqk ldap.exe that we have. Unfortunately, because we're running Kali right now, I don't have a great tool to use for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my recording and bring you over to my Windows machine. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, we're back on my Windows machine, and what we're doing right now is we're using a tool called Dnspy, which is a great tool for loading binaries and going into the frameworks to see where you can and can't make changes in order to maybe get what we want out of this. So what I have here is the hqk ldap.exe file loaded in here by default. You can see that the first thing it does is it looks for one command line argument exactly. If not, it says there's an invalid number of command line arguments. You can see that it's looking for a specified config file, and it's looking for a DB import. So if I go in and I try running hqk ldap right off the bat, it says no. So what I did was I compared, and I tried to make a config file based off what it's looking for, where you can see here, domain equals, user equals, password equals. It looks for each of those triggers, and we'll say, try to make an LDAP request with this information. So I've got my config file set up in the same directory, and I'm going to go config. Okay, now I need to make sure the database is installed. Not only that, but what's going to happen once this does? It's going to perform an LDAP query. It's going to try to connect back and see if it can get user information. But before it does that, it's going to convert that hash. So you can see there's some stuff here that we probably don't need, that we can take some time to really clear out. So let's go, and I'll show you what I did bit by bit. First, looking at the top third or so. I got rid of the telling me there's no config file, which wasn't super necessary, and I got rid of the fact that I needed a DB import file. Scrolling down towards the bottom, I got rid of the enumerator, dispose, and I added, most importantly, after the LDAP information's been gathered and the session is attempted to be made, I want the LDAP password to string. And I've exported this into another file called hqk ldap please. So why don't we do this? Why don't we now run hqk ldap please with our config file? Looks like an error, but wait, above there we see thanks for playing. So what I'm going to do now is try not to have to switch into a new recording, and we're back. So now let's try to put that there. We have administrator, and we have thanks for playing. So let's go smbclient, and we go back to the admin folder, see what we can find there. It's not going to work because Administrator is the user. Recurse. Quite a bit. Honestly, we're just looking for root at this point. So really, in reality, the admin folder is nice, but there's nothing that we need there. So I'm going to cancel out of that. And I'm going to go back to users. There's something here that we can take a look at maybe. Let's go to cd administrator. Now it's not the flag, but we'll see what's there. More flag.text. Nothing interesting. We can maybe get that. See what's there. So now if we cat that, you can see that it looks like the flag is actually on the C user's desktop. Now if you remember, one of the things that we had access to is the C drive. So why don't we do that? Why don't we do smbclient C $, administrator, enter the password, cd users, cd administrator, cd desktop, let's spell it right this time, and look at that, there's our root flag. And there's our root flag. So that's how you get through Nest. I think I made this pretty quick while explaining what needed to be done in the best way I could. If you have any questions, feel free to write a comment, and I'd appreciate it if you could share this with anyone who you think might be interested. As I said, I'm trying to develop the community a little bit and make this into something that more groups of people would like to enjoy. So thank you for watching. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Have a good day.